No Man's Sky, perhaps a more prophetic title than was intended. Maybe you noticed, but expectations weren't exactly met. With what many considered to be a monolithic title in gaming, not more than a few months ago. In such a short time, something that was near universally loved has had the tables turned. But how? Were our expectations unrealistic? Were we being irrational? Or was it a bad game? Or is it something in between? Hi folks, it's Falcon. Today Gameranx asks the question, why is No Man's Sky getting so much hate? When No Man's Sky was announced, it was shown to be something amazing. We were going to occupy a procedurally generated universe that humanity could never entirely explore itself because it would take too much time. It wasn't going to be possible to see the outer reaches of this world, and the possibilities inside it were supposedly limitless. And technically we got that. If you write down what No Man's Sky came out to be on a piece of paper, yeah, there is that many planets. Yeah, they are procedurally generated. Yeah, you have no hope of ever seeing all of them. But why would you even want to see all of them? I can most certainly acknowledge that there are variants in the planets, different colors, different fauna, and nothing's technically the same. The native life, always different, always various combinations of different pieces of art that were created to be very different, and then procedurally combined into unique animals. Certainly. So before you say to me you're lying about what No Man's Sky actually is, you're misrepresenting the game in order to say that things are worse than they actually are, please sit down, think about the fact that a lot of what we were promised is there. A lot of the main things, in fact, but they're kind of technically there. But when someone says something's technically something, it's usually not as good as it should be. Like, it could technically be called that, but I wouldn't consider it that, is usually how that type of statement goes. When something's technically something, we talk about how it meets a checklist. It was made to spec, and that's not how we really look at these things. No Man's Sky was purported to be sort of an emotional, wondrous, amazing, endless journey of exploration and discovery where you would truly feel as though you were part of something bigger. And the key word there is feel. Technically isn't a feeling. Also, they promised a lot of things that aren't there, which that's kind of bullshit. And I could go into a big list about how they claim there was actually going to be physical star systems that powered the day and night cycles on planets instead of those stupid light boxes. We could talk about the big fleets of ships that were supposed to exist and how you could destroy space stations and land on asteroids, and how all of your ships were supposed to be really, really different from each other and have different functions and look different and act different and fly different. Hell, they couldn't even do things like put rings around planets, and don't even get me started on the crafting. But I'm not gonna get super deep into detail about those things because people know. They've created a record of things that have been promised to them that Hello Games failed to deliver.
The only way for you to know what you look like is for somebody else to see you.
Can you run into other people, other players on the game?
Yes, but the chances of that are incredibly rare.
So what happened? I want to say something. For the first few hours I played No Man's Sky, I really liked it. I tweeted about it. I thought, this is really cool. But as time passed, I realized I was still doing the same thing from those first few hours. It started to feel more and more like this game was not the exploratory orgasm I was promised. And yes, I know I'm exaggerating, but I realized I was playing a survival game, and not even like a really good survival game. A decent survival game set in a really cool looking universe. And as much as there is to complain about No Man's Sky, yes, the world is really cool. I like the universe of No Man's Sky. I like a lot of No Man's Sky. But I also know that it's not what they said it was going to be. And what they said it was going to be was the thing that I really wanted from it. And I got a little bit of what I wanted. What I wanted turned out to be very limited. The simulation elements that they said they were going to include aren't there. Planets are static. Freighters are static. The day-night cycle, it happens because of light boxes. You know, those stupid light boxes. Oh, how dumb the light boxes are. Who would do that? Certainly not someone who is making an infinite universe simulator. So yeah, a lot of promises were broken. But what else contributed to the image that we all had in our heads that No Man's Sky was going to be, that it turned out not to? The marketing certainly was aimed at making us think this was a AAA game. Well, this is an indie game. It's not a AAA game. This was made by a small team of people. Hello Games is a team of 15. Now, if you remember, Destiny went through a similar thing. But Destiny was actually created by the people who made Halo. Bungie has around 750 employees, and expectations that technically were a little bit lower than what we expected out of No Man's Sky weren't met by Destiny. But this isn't really a situation of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. It's not like they're the same entity making the same promises more than once. Hello Games isn't really a company a lot of people are familiar with. They've made a couple of games before, but none of them were really notable, and all of a sudden they were put into the public sphere as the saviors to gaming, the people who created the thing that everyone is going to want to play. Hello Games was heralded as the usherers of a new age of convergence. And they're a 15-person indie team. That's not to say that indie games are bad, because they aren't. Frankly, some of my favorite games are indie games, but it's just not possible for them to do the same thing that a AAA company does. I want to stress that I don't think it's our fault. I don't think we put our expectations too high, because they did say that this stuff was going to happen, but we kinda maybe should have known better. We don't deserve any of the blame, we shouldn't take any of the responsibility, because frankly, companies have pretty much lied to us our entire life about everything. That's not our fault. That's the environment we live in. And yes, there are a lot of people who created their own expectations for the game, extrapolating features that were frankly never even promised from tiny little things that were offhand that Sean Murry said at some point. I'm not saying those people don't exist. Oh, they exist. And a lot of people who say things both positive and negative about No Man's Sky have been attacked by those people, which is weird. But just because there are people that are irrationally angry about the game doesn't mean that there aren't a lot more people who have rational problems with it. This game is a procedurally generated indie game, not a polished $60 AAA title, but they try to make it seem like it was. And they charged everyone $60 for it. And no, I'm not gonna call No Man's Sky a big fraud or anything like that, because I don't believe it's a fraud. I've seen this happen more than a few times, albeit not on this scale, where the developers promise something and then don't deliver. Do you remember Fable? Do you remember how that was supposed to be? Now, the game that came out was actually a really good game, and so were its sequels, but they weren't what the guy said it was gonna be. And history's been kind to Fable. It's remembered fondly because, like I said, the game itself was good, and that could very well happen with No Man's Sky after a few patches, but this isn't something new. A lot of the time, developers literally make spec games to show at trade shows and try to make a game that looks as close to that as possible that will run on consoles. Even No Man's Sky, they purported to have a randomly generated planet at the beginning.
I think people watching this would wonder why you're showing this area again. Like, what's so special about demoing the game on this planet?
Oh, no, it's just a place that looks nice.
But after some data mining, people confirmed that that planet was actually created for the demo. You know, by artists and programmers to be a certain way. Generated, but most certainly not randomly. Generated by the creative process. You know, like that.
Oh, no, it's just
Which, if you see how happy Sean Murry was while he was talking about how it was just a nice random planet that they thought looked great, is really weird.
I could have ended the demo with some, pre-scripted crazy thing that would happen. You know what I mean? The normal thing of like, and then a monster emerges from behind the mountains.
Why does No Man's Sky get so much hate? Well, because No Man's Sky isn't No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky was going to be something that was limitless, boundless, amazing, something that nobody had ever experienced before. It was billed as the true open world space sandbox. And instead we got another survival game. That isn't bad, it's just another survival game. The setting is exceptional, but it's just another survival game. This is the pattern we've lived our entire life, not just as gamers, but as Americans. We're promised the world by politicians, corporations, celebrities, artists, writers, TED Talks, and most obviously given the context of this video, game developers. Oh, do we get promises from game developers. We're shown how amazing things can be, and we're told it's just about to happen. And then when we finally get the thing that they promised, we get to look closer at it, and we see that it's a very shiny facade held together by paper clips and gum. And certainly No Man's Sky is not the worst perpetrator of this I've ever seen in my life. It's a decent game, but this has got to be the millionth time. And McDonald's celebrated when they got to their millionth burger, so why can't we? Were you disappointed by No Man's Sky? Let us know in the comments. We're definitely interested to hear that, obviously. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload new videos every single day of the week. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero. And we'll see you next time, right here on Gameranx.